Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered to yourself what would happen if two fused people in Dragon Ball using any method of fusion ever decided to conceive a child?
Good one.
What would happen? Whose child would that be? And would the child be viable? Would he or she exist? Well, today on Blackscape, I am uncovering the mysteries of fusion birth and seeing if this is a viable option. I got my top guys working on this as we speak. They have compiled a set of data and analytics that give us the answer that we've all been wondering for so long. But before I jump into the video, I want to know what your thoughts are on it. Could people who are fused together have a child? Could they have a baby? And if so, whose baby actually is it? Now, to keep this clean for the YouTube overlords, I'm going to be using a lot of technical terms, so you're not going to be hearing anything too crass on this video. Although the content of the video is in the mature audience range, so viewer discretion advised. So before we even dump into these two fused people actually doing the deed and having intercourse together to ultimately have a baby, first we have to see which fusion is the most viable for this type of test.
Ting tang, walla walla bing bang. Ooh ee, ooh ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
So for today's video, I'm focusing primarily on the two levels of fusion that we've seen the Saiyans go through, because I know there's other countless types of fusion and absorption that we've seen in Dragon Ball, but it pertains to other characters, and usually when that happens, yeah, the character kind of stays the same. So we are only going to be looking at the fusion dance and Potara fusion. Fusion dance, we have an issue here, and the fusion dance's issue is that since the beginning, it has only been stated to be 30 minutes long. That's literally it, nothing more, and I believe nothing less, although it is unclear whether the amount of power actually drains from the fusion or if that's just something that happened to the Potara fusion. But it is only 30 minutes long, and that is the one that has been a mainstay since the very beginning of Dragon Ball. The rules of this fusion really haven't changed that much, besides the fact that the two fusees needed to be, like, you know, equal in stature. So I don't know how Goku and Vegeta are kind of doing it, but whatever. So we really only have the Potara fusion to work with this hypothesis, and the Potara fusion was a permanent fusion and really kind of still is. So back in Dragon Ball Z, the Potara fusion was a permanent fusing option. You had to have the earrings on. Once the earrings came into play, you were fused together into an entirely new being. This is something that Goku took very seriously, although he forgot to tell Vegeta about it until the very end, until Vegeta was putting the earring on. Didn't have time to think about it, so Vegeta was about to literally lose himself. So you could really see this as Vegeta and Goku literally losing themselves to fuse into a new being. And this is where our first clue as to what the fusion fornication, I know that's a big word, what the fusion fornication would bring out of two fused people having a baby. Because Vegeta says it himself very, very clearly and very, very plainly. I am neither Goku or Vegeta. The Potara fusion, you are not a mortal, then you are permanently fused. They changed this in Dragon Ball Super so they could use Vegeta in the Goku Black arc without anybody getting really upset that, you know, Vegeta and Goku are officially gone, essentially, because in DBZ they got absorbed, and that is what made them separate, because the fusion wasn't stable enough to be absorbed into another being, and so they just got disassembled. They got basically reset back to zero. But as you guys can see, when the Supreme Kai and Kibito both fused together, they were permanent. They were permanent for a very, very long time until they got defused. If you don't remember, Kibito Kai actually went to New Namek to ask them to wish for him to be defused. So that's how he got defused in the first place. Back to two people because it was a wish. And then I'm assuming that the Kibito stopped working for the Supreme Kai because we don't really see him after that, or at all. We don't really have him in the story. Maybe he's a little upset that he was fused in permanence. Plus, you could tell that Kibito was kind of done with the Supreme Kai and his incompetence anyway. So with Goku and Vegeta not being immortal, they ended up in the Goku Black arc using the Potara fusion only for like less than 15 minutes because the power of that fusion, the Super Saiyan Blue power, was overwhelming the fusion itself, making it unstable and making them separate early. Because now we're finding out that they actually, in the Potara fusion, if you're immortal, you only are fused for 30 minutes. That's basically it. That's all the time that you have. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. It is just written that way. And to me, as somebody who likes or liked the fact that we got Vegito and that he was supposed to be permanent, it really does suck. But I do like the fact that we do keep Goku and Vegeta at some level. But say, what if Goku and Vegeta were immortal? Say they took the Dragon Balls and wished for immortality. They wouldn't be mere mortals anymore, meaning that they could fuse permanently. That's really the only way that you can get around that. So you have that as the basis, right? Now you have two characters that will fuse permanently. And say you have somebody like, say, I'm not going to use Kale and Caulifla because a lot of you guys, get a little bit iffy on the fact whether they are, in their late teens or early 20s, which they're obviously in their early 20s because of the fact that they are bandits out there in the world of Planet Sadala, and has been shown many, many different times that they are actually much older. They're not teenagers, they're in their early 20s. But I'm going to be using a what if fusion with Bulma and Chi-Chi. Bulma and Chi-Chi both also wish for immortality, which is something that even the Earth Dragon, for the most part, can give, at least as far as I remember. But if not, Namek can also give this wish. So once they're both immortal, they end up fusing together, and now they are permanently Vegito, and permanently Bolchi is kind of where I'm landing on this, because I'm thinking that the Bulma personality would be dominant. But here is where it doesn't really matter, because these two fused beings are brand new. They are not, oh, this one's a little bit 50% Goku, 50% Vegeta, or 60 or 70% Vegeta and 40% Goku. No, this is a brand new being. This is a brand new being. It is neither Goku nor Vegeta. It is Vegito. And so, with that being said, these are two new people. Bolchi and Vegito are two new characters that have their own futures ahead of them, have their own lives to live. They may have the characteristics and, in a weird way, the DNA of Goku, Vegeta, Bulma, and Chi-Chi, but these DNA sequences have been fused together to create something brand new, and now we have one single strand of Vegito and Bolchi DNA. So at this point now, you guys can kind of see where this is going, and that is that Vegito and Bolchi, if they ended up fornicating, if they ended up consummating, and Bolchi got pregnant, this new baby would be a brand new person. It would be the child of Vegito and Bolchi, because these two are two brand new characters. They are not fused characters. There are not four people in this relationship. There's only two. So these two people would have a kid. I don't know, what would you call this kid? Go Trunks or something? Trunkton? There you go, Trunkton. Trunkton is a brand new being, and there you go. That's literally the end of the story. Goodbye, see you guys later. Wait, you're saying that this isn't enough for you? That you don't want this like what if type of scenario? Okay, fine. I will remove the what if elements. Fuck it, we're bringing Kefla back anyway. And we have now Vegito and Kefla. They have 15 minutes. That's literally it. 15 minutes. And say if they did decide to do, then Kefla gets pregnant, but then they defuse. What ends up happening? Well, unfortunately for these two new fused parents, yeah, they are not gonna be having a baby if they defuse, because once they defuse, you can think of it as they kill Kefla, they kill Vegito. Those two beings no longer exist until they fuse again. They are in the ether. So actually, there could be a argument here that if Kefla defused, Kale and Caulifla go back to normal, they're back to normal. Neither of them are impregnated. and then you have Kale and Caulifla fuse again in the future, then Kefla is brought back, there could be an argument that she would still be pregnant. And then every 15 minutes for whatever a 9-month period is, how long Saiyan women are pregnant for, I think it might be shorter than that, because as you guys know from Saiyan society, like the babies go straight into like this sort of chamber, so it could be a lot less than that. Then you just kind of count up those 15 minutes every time they fuse. They're like waiting down the clock of being pregnant before they ultimately have their baby. There could be an argument for that. I'm not going to be dismissing that, although, I mean, for me as the cynic, I would say that the baby's gone, just like they're gone, and then they just reset, and then once they refuse again, it's just a brand new version of Kefla. But using our minds and working that big muscle in our head, I think it's really interesting if you would think of it this way, where if Kefla ended up having a baby, say she went through different versions of fusion throughout a couple of months or whatever, and so that tallied up to the amount, the length of time that it would take for her to have the baby and then finally, you know, give birth. That new being, in my opinion, even if Kefla diffuses back to Caulifla and Kale, that new being is a real being. It's out of the body. It's not connected to Kefla in that way. She's only the birth mother. So this new being, I don't know, we'll call him, Vekla, something like that, Vekla. This new being, Vekla, would be his own new person. It would be a brand new fused birth, a brand new fused being. And yeah, that would be a whole different thing that the Z Squad would have to worry about. But this is never going to happen because Goku and Vegeta are in, you know, marriages. But then that also brings to the question, if they do something as Vegito, are they at fault? I don't think so, because Vegito's a brand new person. He is not beholden to Chi-Chi or Bulma, and so he could realistically look out for new relationships in the 15 minutes of his life. But if they are immortal, he could be a brand new person looking for something for the rest of his life. Well, it looks like we find ourselves back in the grips of madness, because after the Fusion Baby video blew up, everybody had one question. Only one real question on this exact subject when it comes to reproduction, when it comes to baby making, when it comes to how are angels made. Because in Dragon Ball Super's manga and in the anime, we all know that this dude right here, the Grand Priest, he is the father of all angels, meaning that every single other angel that is there is his son or daughter. But where, what, how, what is going on here? How does this happen? How do the angels breed? That's exactly the question that we're going to be talking about today. The breeding of angels. It looks like this is the moment we are in my YouTube career, the down bad moment, because this is a question that everybody had after that video. And so, just like my last videos, I launched my crack team of Dragon Ball scientists. These guys have PhDs and pedigrees coming from Capsule Corp Academy, and they are diving into the questions that nobody else really wants to dive into for obvious reasons. And now I'm launching them into this study, the study of angel breeding. And I believe that we found an answer. We finally found the answer that we were looking for. But before I jump in, let me know in the comment section below, guys, what your answer is to this question. And don't make it obvious, like, be creative with your answers. The team first dove into the traits of angels, and angels are actually really interesting because if they want to, they can, essentially is the case here, because angels have no need for food. They don't have any need for water. They don't have any need for drink, and they don't gotta go to bed. They can literally stay up forever, or here's the kicker, they can intentionally do all these things for fun. they sometimes mimic the life forms that they are watching and guarding over. They mimic their behavior essentially, because if they want to eat, they will eat. As you guys can see, Whis and Beerus, their favorite pastime here is to go through Earth and go through the buffets of Earth, go through Golden Corral, and get as much stuff on that plate as possible. That's exactly what their pastime is. Whis, we know, does not need to eat, and yet he does because it's fun. He does it to savor, meaning that he enjoys it. He doesn't need to drink either, and yet he does anyway. All these activities that normal life forms would have to do just to survive, the angels do not have to do it. They can choose to do it or not, meaning that in reality, if angels really wanted to, they absolutely could. If they can eat, that means they have a digestive system. That means that they can, do other things, or they cannot do other things. They realistically have everything that anybody else has, but they do not need it for survival. They can literally do whatever they want. I mean, these are beings that literally cannot die unless they break a certain law, the angel law. If they break the certain angel law, then they will disappear into the abyss. That's the only way that they can die. Now, the only other angels that we know that are part of the Dragon Ball world, at least at some level, is in that filler episode where Goku and the team meet Irelia. We see the Gachans there that are angels that follow Irelia. These guys are born from eggs, but they don't seem to be the exact same angels as the angels that we see in DBS, but those are really the only angels that we actually see. Plus, right now, there are only 12 angels in existence. We do not know where the rest of them are because there used to be 18 universes, and when Zeno destroyed the other ones, the other universes, those god of destructions disappeared, but their angels just became inactive. They didn't have nobody to follow. So realistically, there should be 18 angels. Just 6 of them are just chilling somewhere. They're hanging out. Now we get to the juicy stuff. This is the stuff that you guys have been waiting for. The Grand Priest is the only angel that we really need to focus on here. He is the progenitor. He is the one that is the father of all angels, and that's kind of all we really know about him. We know that he has served Zeno for thousands of years. We know what his appearance is. He's small, he has a quiet demeanor, and he is above every other single angel. Now, this is the guy that we're looking for because we want to know how he brought the rest of the angels, all his children, into existence. There doesn't seem to be anybody else in this equation that we know of right now. There isn't anything that's being told to us, at least officially, because in unofficial terms, the Dragon Ball Kakame brought in the mother of all angels, bringing on the civil war that we see in that Dragon Ball fan manga. And I think that is a really cool concept, but at the end of the day, that is a fan manga. We're trying to get as official as possible, and for that, we have to focus on the Grand Priest, and we have to focus on Akira Toriyama, and more specifically, Japan.
Oh my.
So first and foremost, we have to look at the angels themselves, like the whole point of them. And these angels are not anything like the angels that we see out here in the West. They don't follow any of the characteristics of Western angels. So I had to look to see if Japan had angels in their culture, in their religions. And come to find out, guys, they do, and this is going to blow your socks off here. So in Japan, they actually do have angels, but listen to this. They're called Tenin, and their description are divine spiritual beings found in Japanese Buddhism, the equivalent of angels. They are usually pictured as unnaturally beautiful, women dressed in ornate, colorful kimonos, exquisite jewelry, and flowing scarves that wrap loosely around their bodies. Tenin are believed to live in Buddha's heaven as a companion to the Buddhas and Buddhavistas. Buddhas being the highest being in Tendo, the realm that they inhabit. One of the highest realms, I think it is the highest realm of their religion. Okay, so I just explained to you Tenin. They are also called Tenyo, and let me explain this and see if you guys see the resemblance. Tenyo are extraordinarily beautiful creatures who resemble human women. Aside from their unparalleled grace and elegance and supernatural attractive faces and figures, there is little way of differentiating them from ordinary women. Tenyo are servants and courtesans of the Emperor of Heaven and companions of Buddhas and Buddhavistas. They sing, dance, play music, recite poetry, and do much of the same things as their earthly counterparts in human imperial courts. So this sounds exactly like the angels in Dragon Ball. Now, the only difference here is that these are women. And in Dragon Ball, we get a mixture of males and females. But I would 100% say, with full honesty here, that the male angels in Dragon Ball, they have a lot of feminine traits, and they're quite beautiful. Like, look at Whis. Tell me he's not gorgeous. So we just fit one piece of the puzzle. If these angels are resemblance of the angels in Japanese culture, then where do they come from? There is just one more piece, and that is where they come from. And as it so happens, there are a lot of stories of Tenyo in Japanese folklore, legends that involve, and almost all of them seemingly are love stories where Tenyo marry human men. And the most popular one is the story of a Tenyo that decided to go for a swim on Earth, took off her clothes, and a fisherman found her and stole the clothes because he thought they would give good luck and refused to give them back, and then said he would if she agreed to marry him. But lo and behold, the fisherman was already married, and so when the wife found out, he ordered him to give her back the clothes, and she ended up going back into heaven, which even angel females can't catch a break on Earth. Men are just disgusting. So this story is very interesting. It doesn't exactly say where the angels come from, but it gives us a point of reference of where more angels can come from and the possibilities of that, because in these stories, it looks like a lot of humans marry a lot of Tenyo, and yeah, and that makes more angels. So in Dragon Ball, if this is the only point of reference that we have, then I can only conclude that the Grand Priest at some point ended up getting with a, maybe not a human, but some sort of mortal woman, ended up fathering children with her, a lot of children, or maybe multiple women, who knows, and they all seem to have his characteristics because he is an angel, and of course his genes are going to be dominant, essentially only using them as incubators, and that is where the angels come from. They come from mortals. So after 2 videos of talking about Dragon Ball What If reproduction and explaining to you guys the most probable way that any of these things would be possible, everybody was hitting me up and asking me to make a video talking about the most important type of reproduction that we've seen in Dragon Ball, and that is the Saiyan reproduction. And you might be thinking, what else could go on in a Saiyan reproduction that would merit such a video? Like, it's basically just... And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, after diving headfirst into this subject and spending long, hard hours looking over the data, I found something that nobody else seems to be talking about, and it is vital to what makes Saiyans who they are. Like, this bit of news, guys, you don't want to miss this. So jumping straight into it, we see the Saiyans and everything seems to be the same as humanity. Like, they end up basically coupling off, they have relationships with each other, and then they get down to business. After this is where everything goes crazy, because we get from this to this with really zero to no explanation, like, at all. We don't know why definitively this is needed. Why do they need these capsules? Why do they put the babies in these capsules? Like, what is the reason for this? Well, your patience has paid off, because in this video I finally have the answer, and it is actually right under your nose, like right there. To explore this further, we have to jump into the only canon news that we have for the Saiyans themselves, and that is Dragon Ball Minus and the DBS Broly movie. I'm completely ignoring the Bardock special because it isn't canon anymore, and so a lot of this stuff's not gonna fit. This pod right here is really interesting, and the entire internet has had theories on it for the entirety of its existence. So two of the most popular theories for this pod is number one, Saiyans need to adjust to the planet Vegeta, and so these pods help them adjust because the planet has such strong gravity. And that would make sense, like if these beings came from a different planet and it was like the first 100 years or so. But as far as we know, the Saiyans have been here for a very long time. It wouldn't make sense that they wouldn't acclimate and, you know, evolve to be part of the planet. Like, they don't adapt at all. From everything that I've seen from Saiyans, they adapt very, very quickly. Like, that's like one of the main things they do. They adapt. So this theory goes right into the garbage can. The next theory is probably one that was made when the Bardock special was the only thing that we had on the Saiyans, and that is that the Saiyan pods are needed because the Saiyan women need to go back to fighting. There are so few Saiyans out there that the Saiyans need all hands on deck. They need the women to jump into battle as well. As you guys can see here with Fasha, she is from the Bardock special. When we go into the bar scene, there are other Saiyan women that are combatants. So it seems like they end up having birth relatively quickly. They use the pod for 9+ months it needs for a baby to be born, and that's end of story. But there is a huge issue with that. Dragon Ball's Bardock special is not canon, and so when we go back to what is canon, we see a completely different picture for Saiyan women, because the Saiyan women that we have access to, one is a scientist, and the other one, Goku's mother, is a butcher. And then this one right here, we don't really know what she is. She could be a stay-at-home mom for all we know. We don't really get much information out of that. I could be missing somebody, but these are kind of like the main ones that we get access to in Dragon Ball Super. And on top of that, we really haven't seen any Saiyan women combatants that aren't in Universe 6. So this theory can go out the window as well. So you're asking yourself, then Blackscape, what is the answer? Well, calm down, my child. I'm going to share it with you. And the answer is in these two clips. These two clips right here give us the answers that we're looking for as to why the Saiyans need birthing pods and how you make Saiyan babies. So it seems like Saiyan women have babies relatively quickly right out of the womb. We see it with the size of each of the Saiyan babies in here. Some of them are very small, some of them are bigger. So it seems like, yeah, Saiyan women kind of just give birth, and as soon as they give birth relatively quickly, probably a very quick period, they put the baby into the stasis pod. And as Gine says right here, the babies can be in there for up to 3 years or more. It just depends how long they actually need to be in there. So why do they need to be in there like that? Well, the answer is actually in this clip from King Vegeta. King Vegeta walks towards Vegeta. Vegeta has a lot of latent power. Like, his latent power is really strong. You can see here that Vegeta is at the center of all these pods. But that's not just because he has a high power level. Well, that's part of it, but it's also because he is the king's son. The Saiyans work on a hierarchy, and that is that the royal Saiyans are the most powerful, the ones that are the strongest, the ones that are noble. They are the ones that are higher up in the hierarchy, while the rest of them are low level trash. The ones that are low level are basically commoners. And so when King Vegeta sees that a commoner's baby is in this area, he gets upset. Why is he with his son? And that is when the scientists tell him that this could be the legendary Super Saiyan because his power level is so strong. And that is what leads King Vegeta to try to get rid of Broly. And it's not because of jealousy. That is because their entire society believes that the noble Saiyans have latent abilities, are extremely powerful, and therefore deserve to be on the top, while the rest of the Saiyans either on the bottom are as low-level warriors or something else. Like we've seen in the Saiyan society, some Saiyans are scientists, some Saiyans are butchers, and others do transport. Like, Saiyans do all sorts of different things. But the reason that this is the way, and the reason that King Vegeta needed to get rid of Broly, is because if all Saiyans believed that they had this latent ability within them, their society would collapse. There'd be too many strong Saiyans and too many warriors and not enough cooks, mechanics, etc. Like, not enough Saiyans to do the normal jobs. And that is why the caste system is born. That is why it's made. That is why Vegeta is so upset with Goku for being so strong when he should not be rivaling somebody of royal blood. And so in that explanation, you get the reason why they go into these pods to begin with. These pods awaken their latent powers. Every Saiyan has latent powers, not just these guys. And so the caste system is made so only the ones with exceptionally latent powers, they can be put into royal positions. The rest of them can be common soldiers or they have low power levels. The Saiyans are obsessed with power levels, and so each Saiyan is given some time in the birthing pod to become stronger. Bardock is surprised that Goku has been in there for 3 years because Raditz wasn't there for that long. So Bardock is commenting on the fact that Raditz is stronger, or supposed to be stronger, than Goku, and Goku is inherently weaker because of his power level. That is why when King Cold comes with Frieza to give over the Empire to Frieza, he brings a gift of brand new scouters, because the Saiyans are obsessed with power levels, and scouters will help determine the power levels much more easily. It also makes sense when you go back to Earth and you have the Saiyans mixing with Earth women. Like, Gohan has all these latent abilities. Some of them, like, again, I mean, are crazy latent, but they are latent and they come out much later in life. They come out in waves. They don't all come out at once, or they don't all flourish at the same time. Like, they're not as extreme as they would be if they had been in Saiyan pods. Every Earth Saiyan is this way. They all seem to be stronger than the rest of them, but their latent abilities come out much later in life. But why would they need their latent abilities opened up so early, and why are the Saiyans obsessed with power? Well, the reason is simple. Not only because of the Super Saiyan myth, but also because they can transform into Ozaru, and also because they are sent as children to planets to conquer them. So you need to awaken these latent abilities so that way Saiyans like Raditz, Vegeta, and Goku can be sent to different planets to conquer them. That is the only reason that they are obsessed with power. And that is why Vegeta is so perplexed that Goku is interested in martial arts training and training itself to become more powerful for his inherent benefit, as opposed to some outward need to conquer everybody else around him because he's already so strong. No, he needs to get stronger. And that's why after Vegeta meets Goku, he begins to train and try to become more powerful as well. So that's my explanation as to how you make Saiyan babies. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have the same theory as I do when it comes to Saiyan pods, Saiyan birthing pods. This is going to be Blackscape signing off. Take care, guys.
Prepare yourself, 10 Saiyan.